The "pig farm killer" spread terror across Canada throughout the 1990s and early 2000s with a series of brutally violent murders. Robert Pickton, better known as the "pig farm killer," became infamous for his horrifying crimes and is widely regarded as the most prolific serial killer in Canadian history based on the number of victims linked to him. Before his arrest, Pickton managed to evade justice for years due to police negligence and a lack of urgency during the early stages of the investigation. Reports of missing women continued to accumulate, yet many of the cases were not investigated thoroughly or treated with the seriousness they deserved. Born into a pig farming family in British Columbia, Canada's westernmost province, in 1949, Robert Pickton experienced a difficult childhood marked by his mother's strict upbringing and his father's abusive behavior. From a young age, Pickton was forced to work long hours on his family's farm, enduring a harsh and demanding life. After dropping out of school at the age of 14, Pickton worked as a meat cutter for nearly 7 years, gaining experience before eventually returning to work full-time on his family's farm. The year 1979 marked a major turning point in his life when both of his parents died, leaving the pig farm inheritance to Pickton, his sister, and his brother. The siblings decided to sell part of the land, earning approximately $5.16 million Canadian dollars. Neglecting traditional farming operations, the Pickton siblings transformed the property into a lively venue for dances, concerts, and other entertainment activities. In 1996, they established the Piggy Palace Good Times Society, a non-profit organization that hosted wild and extravagant parties, attracting sex workers and drug users from Vancouver's downtown East Side area. These parties were frequently held inside a converted slaughterhouse on the farm, causing disturbances among nearby residents. Neighbors repeatedly complained to local authorities about drug use, excessive noise, and the activities taking place at the Pickton property. The events at the Pickton farm eventually drew the attention of city officials, leading to a lawsuit over zoning violations. However, despite the legal action, the organization still hosted a New Year's Eve party in 1998, after which the authorities issued a ban preventing similar events from being held. Ultimately, the Piggy Palace Good Times Society was dissolved in January 2000. From 1978 to 2001, a shadow of disappearances loomed over Vancouver's downtown East Side, as at least 65 women were reported missing without a trace. The majority of them were sex workers or drug users, many living in difficult circumstances and estranged from their families. As a result, their disappearances often failed to receive the attention and urgency they deserved. As the number of missing women continued to rise, a vague sense of fear gradually spread throughout the area, followed by rumors that a serial killer might be hiding somewhere in the shadows. In an effort to protect themselves, sex workers began moving in groups and recording the license plate numbers of vehicles belonging to men who picked up women. However, these precautions were still unable to prevent the mysterious disappearances from continuing. In 1991, as the situation became increasingly serious, the families of missing women called for a thorough investigation. However, the police response at the time was slow, indifferent, and lacked urgency. Authorities denied the existence of a serial killer and even suggested that the missing women had simply moved away or died from drug overdoses. This lack of action sparked outrage within the community and was heavily criticized by some newspapers, which accused the police of failing to prioritize investigations into crimes against sex workers due to limited resources. Before his arrest, Pickton managed to evade justice for years due to police negligence and a lack of awareness during the early stages of the investigation. Reports of missing women continued to emerge, but many of the cases were not investigated with the seriousness and attention they deserved. On March 22, 1997, a sex worker named Wendy Lynn Eistetter endured a life-threatening struggle at Robert Pickton's farm. When he attempted to handcuff her, Wendy bravely fought back and managed to take his knife away. During the violent confrontation, both of them suffered multiple stab wounds. After the bloody struggle, Wendy managed to escape and run toward the road, where she was fortunately found by a passerby who took her to the hospital. Ironically, Pickton was also taken to the same hospital to receive treatment for his injuries. There, a medical worker discovered the key to the handcuffs that had been placed on Wendy's wrist inside Pickton's pocket. He was immediately arrested and charged with attempted murder, assault with a weapon, and forcible confinement. However, Robert Pickton was released after posting bail of $2,000 Canadian. The charges were later dropped because Wendy Lynn Eistetter was a drug user, and authorities considered her testimony insufficiently reliable to secure a conviction. In the spring of 1999, police received another report claiming that Lynn Ellingson, a single mother struggling with drug addiction, had seen the body of a woman hanging inside the slaughterhouse at Pickton's farm. However, when questioned by investigators, Lynn denied making the claim. It was only after Pickton's arrest that Lynn admitted she had actually seen the body on March 20, 1999. She explained that she had remained silent because she was afraid of Pickton and had even used the information to blackmail him for money to buy drugs. In early 1999, Bill Hiscox, an employee at Pickton's farm, contacted the police to report a significant piece of information. He stated that he had heard Lisa Yelds, a close friend of Pickton, talk about seeing clothing, wallets, and identification documents belonging to numerous women on the pig farm. Bill believed that these items belonged to missing women. Police questioned Lisa, but she was uncooperative and refused to provide any additional information. This was the second time Bill had contacted authorities regarding his suspicions, but investigators were unable to obtain a search warrant based solely on this indirect information. Under the law, police needed testimony from a direct witness or clear physical evidence before they could legally search the farm. In 2001, the Vancouver Police Department and the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, joined forces to establish a special task force to investigate the mysterious disappearances of women from the downtown East Side area. In early February 2002, Scott Chubb, a former truck driver who had worked for the Pickton family, provided police with crucial information. He reported that he had seen illegal firearms inside Pickton's mobile home. This information was enough to meet the legal requirements for authorities to obtain a search warrant. On February 5, 2002, the task force raided the pig farm. In addition to discovering several illegal and unregistered firearms, investigators also found personal belongings believed to belong to missing women. The Pickton brothers were arrested but were soon released. However, Robert Pickton remained under police surveillance, and the farm was sealed off as investigators continued their examination of the property. On February 22, 2002, Robert Pickton was officially arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. The number of charges continued to increase, and by May 26, 2005, he had been charged with a total of 27 counts of first-degree murder. After Robert Pickton was arrested on 27 counts of first-degree murder, investigators began a massive search and examination of his pig farm. The property became the largest crime scene investigation in Canadian history, with excavation efforts continuing until November 2003. Investigators collected approximately 200,000 DNA samples and 600,000 pieces of evidence. Forensic experts and archaeologists had to use heavy equipment to sift through 383,000 cubic meters of soil in an attempt to locate the remains of victims. The forensic analysis was extremely challenging because many of the bodies had severely decomposed or had been damaged by insects and pigs. The investigation was estimated to have cost nearly $70 million Canadian. Police discovered the remains of several victims along with blood-stained clothing during the investigation. In addition, they seized a loaded revolver, boxes of handgun ammunition, night vision goggles, 2 pairs of handcuffs, a syringe containing a blue liquid, and sexual stimulants from Pickton's trailer. In 2004, forensic testing revealed that the clothing and rubber boots Pickton had worn during the 1997 assault on Wendy Eistetter, which had previously been seized by police, contained the DNA of 2 missing women. Most notably, while in custody, Pickton made a shocking confession to an undercover police officer posing as a fellow inmate. He stated that he wanted to kill one more person in order to reach a total of 50 victims, indirectly admitting that he had committed 49 murders. The video recording of this confession was later used as crucial evidence during Pickton's trial. The trial officially began on January 30, 2006. Despite facing overwhelming evidence collected throughout the investigation and presented during the proceedings, Robert Pickton stubbornly denied all allegations against him. He remained calm and composed, even appearing to believe that his crimes would remain hidden forever. Aside from occasional sarcastic smirks, the face of this cold-blooded killer showed almost no signs of emotion or fear. Pickton pleaded not guilty to all 27 counts of first-degree murder. After carefully reviewing the evidence, the judge dismissed one charge due to insufficient information and divided the remaining charges into two groups, one group consisting of 6 counts and another containing 20 counts. On December 9, 2007, the jury found Pickton not guilty of 6 counts of first-degree murder, but convicted him on 6 counts of second-degree murder. He was sentenced to life imprisonment, with no possibility of parole for at least 25 years. This was the maximum penalty for second-degree murder, equivalent to the minimum sentence imposed for first-degree murder. However, the prosecution of Pickton for the remaining 20 murder charges was stayed in August 2010. Authorities stated that any additional convictions would not increase the sentence that Robert Pickton had already received. The decision received mixed reactions from the victims' families. Some expressed disappointment that Pickton would not face additional punishment for the 20 other murders he was accused of committing. Others, however, felt relieved that the horrifying details of those cases would not be revealed publicly in court. On May 19, Robert Pickton was attacked by another inmate while serving his sentence in prison. The assault left him seriously injured, and he was hospitalized in critical condition. On May 31, the Correctional Service of Canada confirmed that the pig farm killer had died at the age of 74 in hospital from injuries sustained during the prison attack. See you all for the next cases. Please like and subscribe to my channel to support me.